Hey, good people. Listen, it is hot in this car. I have the AC on and it's still hot in the car. So I'm sweating. But I wanted to come on here because remember the last car chronicle that I did before the one where I was introducing myself, the last one where I told y'all the story of me being kidnapped when I was 14 years old. I told you that was part 1 and I need to give a part 2. So somebody in the comments said, we're still waiting for you to continue the story because now I'm invested. So today's car chronicle, welcome to Nadine Car Chronicles, by the way. Today's car chronicles is part 2 of that story. So remember I told y'all that I was kidnapped. Now, there's some critical information that you need to be aware of because it lends itself to part 2. And that is the man was in his, now that I look back, I would say he was in his mid to late 60s, the guy who kidnapped me. I remember I was on my way to school. I was about 14 years old when it happened. And he was driving a burgundy Lincoln Town car. How I remember that, I do not know, but that I remember. Okay. He was, you could tell he worked out. Like he was, muscular. He maintained his body and he was a redhead and his beard was like grayed out and stuff like that. So I remember those details and that's important to part 2. I remember those details. So fast forward, I had my daughter. My daughter is about 1 year old, a little over 1 year old at this time. I am 19 years old, and I'm living in the state of Virginia with my then fiance. Y'all already know the story about that. Anyway, so I'm living in Virginia with him and my daughter, and it was, I would say, about the month of March or April that I am driving in the state of Virginia. Matter of fact, I wasn't in Virginia. I was driving from Virginia to go visit my family in New York. And so I was in between. I was at around the DC exchange. I forgot what highway that was, but anyone who lives out there, you could put it in the comment section. I think it's the 395, the 495, something like that, that connects. That's the main highway that people use to drive from Virginia through DC to New York City. So I'm on that highway. It's about March or April. This is several months before I'm arrested. Guys, the enemy is always trying to take us out. He's always trying to, and when one thing doesn't work in one season, he will show up in another season. You have to deal with him in a particular season. Right? You have to, whatever you don't deal with in one season is going to visit you in another season. I remember it was King Saul in the Bible that was told to annihilate a particular king and wipe him out and his bloodline and stuff like that. And Saul did not. And that king's bloodline was one of the main antagonists to the children of Israel. Because whatever you don't deal with in one season, you're going to have to deal with in another. Might as well deal with it. So I'm driving. My fiance at the time is in the passenger seat. And the passenger seat is all the way back. I'm driving an SUV. Again, it's about March, April. Beautiful spring day. The sun is out. The sky is clear. He's sitting in the passenger seat and the passenger seat is all the way back. My daughter is not in the car seat. She's laid down on the back row sleeping. Okay, she's a little over 1 at this time. And she's like, so my fiance at the time, his seat is stretched over her body. Okay, it's reclined all the way back over her body. And I'm driving. I'm doing the average speed was going about 80, 85, and I'm with the traffic. Now it's not a lot of traffic because it's about 11 o'clock, 10:30 or 11 o'clock in the morning. People are at work. It's about a Tuesday or a Monday morning, something like that. Everyone is at work. And again, the day is beautiful. So I'm driving. A car pulls up next to me and is driving with me. And there's no traffic. There's no reason why this car should be driving next to me like that. So I speed up. Lo and behold, The car speeds up next to me. I slow down. The car slows down next to me. And so I'm like, what in the world is up? So my window is down, and I look to the car to give it a look, like, what are you doing? When I looked, I turned my face forward again and I speed up again. Guys, you know how you process sometimes in slow motion? I processed and I realized that the person driving that car, I've seen before. I've seen that face before. But I'm not clear yet where I've seen the face until I realize the same person is driving the same car that kidnapped me when I was 14 years old. It's the same man. And so I had already sped up. And so it dawned on me that this is the guy who kidnapped me when I was 14 years old. So he speeds up next to me again, and I look to him, and he looks over at me. And guys, I don't really tell this story a lot because what I'm about to share, you had to be there. No one would believe, many people wouldn't believe it. When the guy looked at me, y'all, there was like no eyeballs. It's like I saw a black socket as his eyes. Like there was no eyeballs staring back at me. It was like all blacked out. And I'm looking and I don't see eyeballs. And all of a sudden that man took his car and turned it right into my car. So I had to quickly move out the way. But because I was doing 85, 90, the car starts spinning out of control. My car. All across the highway, going across all lanes, just spinning and spinning. And my fiance at the time woke up and he told me, take your foot off the brake. And I took my foot off the brake and he said, let the car slow down on its own. It slowed down and we went off an embankment. A lady was driving behind us and she said, she pulled up behind us. She said, I'm calling the police. I saw everything and I have his plates. I was just so shaken up. Because all I could think of, my fiance doesn't even know this. All I can think of, that is the man that kidnapped me when I was 14 years old. And why is it's the same man in the same car. And why is it that he doesn't have any eyeball sockets? Now, listen, any eyeballs in his sockets. I wasn't raised in a church. I wasn't raised knowing about spiritual warfare. I wasn't raised knowing about demonic activity and all this other stuff. I don't know anything about. All I know is what I saw wasn't like it was human. I don't know what else to explain to y'all. What I saw was not like it was human. My mother told me that she's dealt with similar situations of demonic activity in her life growing up. I just think that we have to fight for our bloodline. We have to fight for our children. We have to, because what the enemy can't do against you, or what he was trying to do against my mother, he can show up in another generation to do against your seed. And so it's so important for us to pray over our seed. It's so important for us to speak the word over our seed, to put up a fortress and a shield of protection over our seed. Because sometimes you're so strong that the enemy know he can't get to you. And he'll get to what's dear to you, what's close to you, what you love the most. Family members, your seed, your spouse. And so I don't know what ever happened to that man, but I prayed against that man when I came to know the truth of Jesus Christ. I prayed. I sent the word of God to dismantle, to confront that thing in the spirit. So that spirit I saw then, I will never see again. It will never show itself in my bloodline concerning my seed. And I pray that you will do the same. Matter of fact, I'll share a prayer that you can use to cover your seed and cover your generation to come. All right. That's the part 2 of that story. What you don't deal with in one season will show itself in another season. Be proactive with what God is inviting you to take care of. Take care of business now. Because if you don't, you're going to have to deal with it later. All right. God bless y'all. I'll send y'all that prayer. Bye-bye.